Hello, Kurt Jackson with KJ Financial, here with our final episode in our second module of our Retirement Accelerator Blueprint, where we're going to hit on finally the 10th biggest risk that you face in retirement, and that is number 10, regulatory risk. Now, this is going to be a pretty lengthy video. Please stick with it because it is got so much great information that you need to know. So, could regulatory risk be a big one? Hey, wait a minute. Let me give you we're not tax planners. Always consult your tax professional, but we can give you questions to ask your tax pro to see what might be best to be done to minimize or optimize your overall lifetime tax bill. So doesn't the U.S. have a lot of debt? We've kind of been that before that, right? Doesn't that mean Uncle Sam's got to find more revenue to help try to pay off that debt and live up to the promises that they've already made? Don't they need a lot more revenue? I mean, if we got $31 trillion in debt and $138 trillion in unfunded promises, it's over 100. That's almost $170 trillion. We need a lot more revenue. Doesn't that mean they're going to have to increase taxes, at least some? So if the federal, state, county, and city governments need more money, who are they going to get that money from? Will they go after people who don't have money or people who do have money? So who will those governments define as having money? Would it make sense to define people who have money as those who have things that a majority of the population does not have? Maybe it's a big house. Maybe it's multiple houses. Maybe it's a lake house. Maybe it's investment properties. Maybe it's nice cars, a high income, a sizable amount of money in their retirement plan. Could be any or all of those things, or even some things that are not on that list. Because doesn't that list go on and on? So is it possible for Uncle Sam to keep lowering the threshold of who is rich as they need more and more money? Could that mean Uncle Sam and the IRS have or will have you in their sights? So what if there was a strategy that would make you invisible to their desire to increase your taxes? When would you want to do that? So do you want to do it before or you want to do it after they begin to increase your taxes? So if you wait too long, won't they close all the opportunities that are available to you now to maybe minimize your taxes? Wouldn't it be amazing if you could control the amount of taxes your family pays, or at the very least, change who pays those taxes for you and your family? Maybe you're asking, why is the target likely on my back? Well, let's do a deeper dive into why that might be the case. So according to the most recent 2021 wage statistics report, the link's at the bottom, you can go look at it yourself if you want. 53% of Americans earn less than $40,000. 62% of Americans earn less than $50,000. 78% of Americans earn less than $75,000. 87% earn less than $100,000. And 91% of Americans earn less than $120,000. Did you know around 61% of Americans did not pay income taxes in 2021? So if you're married with 2 children and you live just about anywhere in the U.S., are you rich making this kind of money here? So in fact, aren't families with $75,000 per year of income struggling to make ends meet, especially with inflation right now? Worse, with inflation destroying the purchasing power of the money, isn't it making ends meet becoming more and more difficult? Doesn't this information clearly show that we have destroyed what made America the strongest economic engine on the planet Earth? Haven't we essentially destroyed the middle class of our country? So wouldn't that mean they're going to have to transfer more and more from the wealthy people in our country to take care of all the middle class and poor who need help with food, healthcare, housing, utilities, and so forth? So if you're wealthy or even upper middle class and you did everything you were asked to do, you lived within your means, you saved in the tax-deferred accounts that were recommended, and you didn't allow yourself to be overcome with debt, does it even matter you did things the right way? Won't the government do everything they can to transfer your wealth and your family's wealth to the people who were not willing to do what you did successfully? How do you feel about that? Are you just going to sit aside and let Uncle Sam and the IRS take what's rightfully yours? Or are you going to use the financial products and strategies that are available to you that allow you to be in control of how much the government and the Internal Revenue Service take? So if you're here watching this, isn't it safe to assume you've done very well for yourself and your family, or you're expecting to do well for yourself and your family? Do you realize you're in a very small minority? Do you realize that you've likely been more successful than 88% of the country or more? Do you realize how well you've done? Do you realize as many as 9 in 10 people in our country would trade places with you tomorrow? Do you also realize you have unintentionally painted a gigantic target on your back for the government and the Internal Revenue Service to aim at? Do you think the government will let those other 80 or 90% of Americans go without healthcare, food, housing, utilities, so forth? So if you're one of the few with any money, won't they come after you to get the money they need to care for the 80 to 90% who were either unable or chose to not take the steps that you took to build financial success? So you worked many hours, maybe 60, 80 hours a week. You saved and you saved in the tax-deferred vehicles that they recommended you should save in. You lived within your means. You controlled your debt level. You never bought things you didn't need. You took care of the things you did buy so they would last longer. Do you think it's fair the government and the Internal Revenue Service are going to take that money that you earned and saved for you and your family to take care of all the people in our country who were not willing to do the things that you did, and now those people will be rewarded by our system, and you will fund these programs? Do you think they might even need more of your money in the future because of the circumstances we find ourselves in as a country? Do you think the government is stupid? Don't you think Uncle Sam knows we have financial products and strategies which could prevent them from taking our money? Where do you think many of those dolts in DC put large amounts of their money? If they're going to require a lot more revenue in the future to keep the promises they've made, how much longer do you think they will allow us to have those financial products and strategies? Isn't it true that the only people who will be allowed to have those products and strategies are the people who already had them before they changed the law? So really, doesn't that leave us just one question? You have a choice, don't you? This is America, after all. You can be controlled, or you can build a strategy that allows you to be in control. Which do you choose, control or be controlled? When do you want to get started? Before or after they change the laws? Not ready yet? You need more info to make up your mind? All right, hang with me. We've got a lot more to share. Aren't more and more Americans, aren't they living paycheck to paycheck and maybe are one calamity away from serious financial problems? Yet more than half of these people contributed to tax-deductible IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, and 457 plans. Doesn't that mean they received no current tax deduction for their contributions and contributed to an investment vehicle that will have lots of income tax liability in the future? Why in the world would you want to defer taxes you didn't even have to pay taxes on that money in retirement? Doesn't it seem like we've been brainwashed about 401ks and IRAs? Knowing what we know is going to happen, do we think that makes any sense? Have you heard of any of these rules that I'm going to share with you? If you're single and you're younger than 65, are you taking advantage of the rule of 56-12-8.8 or 109-22-14.9 or 196-24-18.9? If you're single and you're 65 or older, are you taking advantage of the rule of 60-12-8.5 or 111-22-14.7 or 198-24-18.8? If you're married and you're younger than 65, are you taking advantage of the rule of 117-12-8.8, 218-22-14.9, or 392-24-18.9? If you're married and age 65 or older, are you taking advantage of the rule of 120-12-8.6, 221-22-14.7, or 395-24-18.8? Have you ever heard of these rules? Remember, we're all about efficiency in the Retirement Accelerator Blueprint. So would you believe these are rules we utilize in the Retirement Accelerator Blueprint to minimize your lifetime income tax bill? Do you realize these rules provide a very efficient way to eliminate taxes at a much lower effective tax rate on qualified money, which is your 401k or IRA type money, retirement plans, and tax-deferred annuities? So if you recall, we're not tax planners, but we will help you formulate the questions to ask your tax pro to see what are the best strategies to minimize your lifetime tax bill. So hypothetically, in 2022, if you were married age 65 and older, making $70,000 a year in income, and you have $400,000 in an IRA or 401k, if you took $40,000 per year out of that IRA and paid taxes on it, your effective federal income tax rate, we're just talking federal tax, we're not talking state, would be 8.6%. That's $3,440. So doesn't that mean if you did this for 10 years, it would only cost you $34,400 to completely eliminate the income tax liability on your $400,000 IRA? Did you know you could do that? If we're thinking Uncle Sam's going to need more revenue and they're going to be targeting people with money, could you having $400,000 in a tax-deferred account like an IRA or 401k that Uncle Sam and the IRS control, could that be defined as you having money? Could that put a tax target squarely on your back? If you took the $40,000 every year out of your left pocket, okay, in your IRA or 401k, and if you qualify, you put it in your right pocket, which could be a cash value life insurance policy, wouldn't the leverage, or let's call it the death benefit, reimburse the family for the $34,400 you paid in taxes while you were alive? Do you realize how brilliant you would be if you did that? So wouldn't that mean you withdrew your entire $400,000 IRA and ultimately you did not pay 1 cent of the income tax on that money out of your own pocket? If you qualify, could it get more efficient than having the life insurance company ultimately pay your income taxes? So if that was the only benefit of a cash value life policy, wouldn't that be enough of a reason to at least consider it? What if we upped the ante and we said all of your growth in cash value would happen tax deferred, but if you followed some really simple rules, all the cash value you pulled out would be tax-free income. And remember, it would be one of the 3 incomes that does not make your Social Security income taxable. Does that sound like you're moving to being more tax efficient? What if the growth component inside your cash value life policy was like the annual cap strategy that we've previously discussed? Where if an index like the S&P 500 was up, you could capture maybe 9, 10, 11% or more annually? What if the cash you pulled out of your cash value life policy was still able to earn gains when they were there? So hypothetically, let's assume you had that $400,000 IRA that you took out in our hypothetical example over 10 years, and it's now in cash value. Okay, so now you have $400,000 in cash value. So it didn't even grow. Okay, so let's assume your cap was 10% and the S&P 500 was up 12%. Wouldn't you earn 10% on the $400,000 in cash value? That's 40 grand, right? So now assume you pulled out $100,000 for whatever reason. Maybe it was some retirement income. What if following a few easy rules meant you could also earn 10% on the $100,000 you pulled out of your cash value? So is that even possible? So do you realize that you didn't really pull the money out of your account if you followed these rules? In fact, you used the $400,000 as collateral for a loan from the insurance company's general account. So wouldn't that mean you still have the $400,000 in cash value and they're earning returns when the opportunity arises? Did you realize that if you utilize a participating loan option, any annual gains are also earned on the money you borrowed? So in our hypothetical example, wouldn't that mean you would have earned another 10 grand on the 100 grand you borrowed? So now since you borrowed the money, wouldn't it make sense that there was an interest rate charge on it? Okay. Let's assume that borrowing rate was 6%. Wouldn't you have paid $6,000 in interest on that 100 grand in that year? All right, so let's do the math here. You gained $40,000 on your $400,000, right? Because we didn't really take any money out of it. We borrowed it from the life insurance company. Plus you gained $10,000 on your $100,000 that you borrowed, right? But you paid $6,000 in interest on the borrowed $100,000, right? Didn't you earn a total of $44,000 on your account? Isn't that earning 10% more than without the policy loan? Who paid the interest on the policy loan? Your account did, thanks to the extra money that you earned on the money you borrowed. Now, your account won't be up every year. So what happens in those years? Well, you have 2 options. You can pay the interest or you can have your account pay the interest. So historically, the market's up about 7 out of every 10 years. So you may be on the hook for interest maybe about 30% of the time. So why would you want to do something like this? Well, one of our companies over the last 20 years estimated that their policyholders with participating loans would have earned about an extra 2.2% per year on their borrowed money. We call that making an arbitrage on your money. So wouldn't that mean over that 10-year period, the $100,000 you borrowed would have given you an additional arbitrage of $24,310? Over 20 years, maybe an additional arbitrage of $54,532? Over 30 years, an additional arbitrage of $92,100? Wouldn't that additional growth multiply the more money you took out in policy loans for retirement income? Could that arbitrage give you extra tax-free income in retirement? A little extra or maybe a lot extra. Isn't that a financially powerful concept? You know who else makes an arbitrage on your money? Banks do when you put money in the bank. So doesn't that mean you've almost become your own bank? Could you see how using a financial strategy where you don't lose when the market is down, you lock in gains and protect them going forward when they're there, you can earn a little extra on the money you've borrowed. Couldn't that borrowed money be utilized as income to live on in retirement? Income, tax-free income, be an efficient source of retirement income for you and your loved ones. If all of your retirement income from that, wouldn't you get all of your Social Security benefits tax-free also? There's more, okay? Did you realize the initial death benefit, these $40,000 a year for 10-year premiums bought you, can provide you with a living benefit? Remember, we talked about this before. If you needed specialized care, long-term care, whether it be in-home, assisted living, nursing, or memory care, that death benefit could be utilized to help pay those costs. So how much in initial death benefit could $40,000 a year for 10 years in premiums generate? Could it create hundreds of thousands of dollars or more? If you needed specialized care, it would reduce what you'd be able to leave behind to your loved ones. But in all candor here, if you needed specialized care, isn't it highly likely the amount of money available you left to your heirs would be diminished anyway? So more importantly, if you didn't have these hundreds of thousands of extra dollars, what are the chances your loved ones would have to help out financially, help out physically, and help out emotionally in providing your care? Is that what you want to have happen if you need specialized care? Do you want that type of pressure on your loved ones? So if you have hundreds of thousands in extra money for this type of situation, could it put you in more control or less control over where you get your care, who administers your care, and how good of a quality of care you receive? I mean, if you had family that needed to help you, couldn't you give them some of that money to help offset their financial struggles that they may be incurring because they're giving you care? So would that be something you'd want for yourself, your spouse, if you have one, and more importantly, your loved ones? Do you realize in January of 2023, thanks to inflation, that rule of 112.12 becomes the rule of 120.12? Isn't that another $8,000 per year? Couldn't you have withdrawn $48,000 per year and still paid an effective tax rate of about 8.6%, $4,128 in total federal income taxes? Beginning in 2023, couldn't you eliminate the income tax on $480,000 for just $41,280 over 10 years? Doesn't that mean your opportunity increases? Maybe you're married, both age 60, making $150,000 a year, and have $700,000 in an IRA or 401k. In 2023, you could take out, let's say, $78,000 a year, only paying an effective tax rate of 14.9% or $11,622 per year. Over 10 years, that's $780,000 of fully taxable money and only paying $111,622 in federal income taxes. You may have stayed on top of that. Don't know what state you live in. Couldn't you also do what we did in the previous scenario? Did you know you could do that? Since you're watching this, you likely have not only created a great annual income, but you've probably also put away a sizable amount of retirement savings. Otherwise, why would you be here worrying about taxes? Do you realize you've unintentionally painted a gigantic target on your back for the government and the IRS to aim at? Do you realize if you follow the advice of putting money into a tax-deferred 401k or IRA type retirement, Uncle Sam and the IRS know exactly how much you have in those accounts, and those are your controlling partner for all that money in those accounts. Haven't we already established Uncle Sam will not let the 80%, 85%, 90% of Americans go without healthcare, food, housing, utilities, and so forth? If you're one of the only ones with any money, won't they come after you to get the money needed to care for those 80 to 90% who are unable or chose not to take the steps that you took to build financial success? If Uncle Sam will come after those with money to fill the need for increased taxes, when would you like to find out if you're in their crosshairs or if you'll be all right? Won't the government do everything they can to transfer your wealth and your family's wealth to the people who are not willing to do what you did or are going to use the products and strategies that are available to you that allow you to be in control of how much the government and the IRS take? So the Retirement Accelerator Blueprint takes a proactive approach to minimize your lifetime tax bill while putting you in control of how much in taxes you'll pay. And risk number 10, regulatory risk, shows you why it is so important to have that as a major part of your retirement plan. All right, so you've seen all the whys you need the Retirement Accelerator Blueprint, and you've even been able to sample some of the strategies that we utilize to complete your Retirement Accelerator Blueprint. Are you ready to see what your Retirement Accelerator Blueprint would look like, or are you totally convinced what you're doing now is properly handling all the myths and lies traditional planning has been using against you your entire investing life, while also handling the 10 biggest retirement risks too? Are you confident what you're doing will handle all of these things, or is it now a priority for you to see what your Retirement Accelerator Blueprint could do for your retirement? Are you open to onboarding to the Retirement Accelerator Blueprint process? If it is a priority for you and you are open to onboarding, there's a link below, but you can also go to bookkurtnow.com, get on my calendar to get this process started. All right, we're just going to have an initial meeting. You're not committing to anything other than having a conversation, because the longer you wait, the more of your money you're going to need to utilize to have a chance at a successful retirement.